Hello, I'm Oren Clay, and today on Claytime, we're going to learn how to manage your class files on Windows 10. Let's get started. And now we are here on our Windows 10 desktop. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the description of this video, and we are going to download the Data Management Windows 10 PDF. Now this is a document that's going to take you step by step through everything we're going to do today, so you can go back, retrace your steps, answer any questions you may have, or just have a cheat sheet available to you whenever you need it. So the first thing we're going to do is hit our Before You Begin section. Now in here we're going to write down all of the classes that we're going to teach this semester. And we leave 8 spaces, but if you need a little more space down there, if you're doing some part-time classes, you just got to list those as you keep on going down. What you want to do, though, is you want to list out your classes in as short a namespace as possible. So if you have any abbreviations for your classes as they are, put those in there. You just want to save yourself the time of having to type out those names repeatedly over and over again. So like I have up here a few examples for you: Chem for chemistry, ENG for English, SBA for Spanish. If you have something like History, Western Music, HWM, get that nice and shortened down to something that you're going to remember. So as you get through those, you're going to come down to here, and you're going to have our rules for following this file system. So there are 4 rules. Your first rule is going to be that underscores are going to separate all groupings of information. So you have one piece of information that's going to be the year, 2020. Then we're going to have what the class is. So that's going to be English grade 6. And then we're going to have the semester, fall semester in our example here. So you're going to be able to go through stage by stage, identify all your information, and separate it out very quickly without having to guess. Now you have our rule number 2 is that all spaces are going to be used to separate words, but are always followed by capital letters. So you're not going to have any lowercase strings or sentences in here. You're going to capitalize everything. That way we avoid this worst case example up here. That's our 2020 English history from 1620 to 1940 fall semester. Very difficult to read just at a glance until we put those spaces and we put those capitals in there. Now it's very easy to tell just at looking at it exactly what that class is going to be. Now our last area here, we have rule number 3. Parentheses are used to group strings of information that are going to contain those underscores. So this is mostly going to be our dates, but you may have some other information in an assignment name that has specific underscores related to what you're doing. And you're just going to put those into parentheses. That way you always can identify where that piece of information starts and where it ends when you have to use parentheses. So in our case, we have our date here that's 2020-08-22. That way we know that this is the 22nd of August in the year 2020. We get it nice and spaced together. That way there's no questions when we look at it right on our file name. It's easy to identify. Now we come down to our dates. Now our dates are going to have a very consistent structure. It's always going to be year, month, day. Now you're going to do this in anything that you're going to put into your computer that you want sorted chronologically, because your computer is always going to sort it by first number first. So it's going to see 2020, and it's going to know that that comes before 2021. But if you start putting these out of order, where you have, let's say, month, day, year, it's going to group all of your 22nds of August together, or it's going to group all of your 15ths of August together, because it's going to sort it by that first number, then by that second number, then by that third number. So you always want to have it in order of how the computer is going to see it. So now we come down, we have our standard acronyms. These are acronyms that I recommend using. You don't have to use them, but they will help you shorten your day a little bit every day by having to type just a little bit less with all those file names. So we have FSEM for fall semester and SSEM for spring semester. And now if you have any other acronyms you want to write down for yourself, I suggest you put them on the rest of this page. Just make sure that you're able to keep track of all the shortened wordings that you're using. So now we're going to go into our step 1, that's creating your file system. So we're going to open up our File Explorer in Windows 10. Now the first thing it's going to take you to in Windows is this page. Now this page is going to show you your recent files. So the most recent files that you've opened on your computer. It's going to show you your most frequented folders in your upper section here. And then it's going to show you your left-hand pane. Now your left-hand pane here is going to give you your quick access. These are either items that you visit regularly or that you have pinned onto your quick access so you can easily get to them. And then it's going to have your external drives and your assortment of drives. So now when I go to this PC, it's going to show me all of the drives that are connected to my computer. You probably won't have quite as many as what I have here, but that's just for maintaining the larger amount of files that I have to use for work. And then you can have your drives. So this is my OneDrive, this is my work OneDrive, this is my personal OneDrive, so I can keep everything separate. And these are my removable SD cards that are currently in my system. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click into your This PC, and you're all going to have this icon here. This is your local disk C, or what we call your C drive. So you're going to want to navigate into your C drive, and you're going to want to go into your users file. Now from your users file, you're going to see all the users on your computer. You're going to want to select your user. In this case, we're going to select Claytime, and then we're going to create a new file in this system. That's going to be our step 2 right here. We're going to create a new file here by pressing Control-Shift-N, and that is going to create a new file in this area, and we want to name it classes, and hit the return key, and that's going to create that new file. And now this user file, this is all the files assigned directly to your user. So you're going to see your videos, your pictures, your OneDrive, music, downloads, documents, desktop, all these areas. And we're putting this classes file right in here because it's going to stack with all the rest of your users' files. It's not going to be hiding in your documents or your downloads or your desktop. It's going to be its own independent folder. So you're going to double click into here. And now we're going to create a folder for our semesters. So if you're creating a folder to archive some previous semesters, you're going to want to change the year and the semester right away. But overall, we're going to create this for our current semester for when I'm creating this video, and that's going to be the fall semester of 2020. Now, if you're watching this in the future and it's a little bit later, you might want to create a folder for next year. So that's going to be the spring semester of 2021. And you're going to have your files listed right here, and these are going to be all of your semesters nice and organized in your classes folder. So we're going to go into our fall semester 2020. So we're going to create our class folders for the semester, and they're going to be created in the file name of year underscore name of your class underscore fall/spring semester. So in this case, we're going to have year 2020, Algebra 1, fall semester. We're going to have year 2020, American politics, fall semester. Year 2020, chemistry 1, fall semester. Now we're going to create a new one here. This is going to be year 2020, English, grade 6, fall semester. Now this is important right here. We have English, and that's 06 instead of just 6. We might be tempted just to make it look like that. However, what we're going to find is that adding just that 0 in here, especially if we're doing things like English grade 9 and then English grade 11, it's going to become easier for us to read as we have that 06 in front of there. Just making sure it stays consistent in how we're labeling all of those files. Now we have 2020, History of Western Music, fall semester. 2020, History of Western Music 2. We're going to keep on going down here. We're going to create all of our class folders. Now this is an important one right here as well. We have 2020 Native American History. Now this is not something that we're going to want to have to write out individually multiple times a day. So this is an area where it's really important to have good acronyms that you can type out really quickly. That's why we have NatAmHist for our Native American History. It lets us get through that much faster every day. So now we have our last one, 2020, Trig, fall semester. And now we're going to create one more folder in here. This one is optional, but it's something that I highly recommend, especially for those of us who are having to teach online this year. And that's going to be to create an all students folder. Now in this folder is where you're going to put things like announcements for all of your students and class types where you just want to have an assignment that goes to all of them. Maybe something important happened in your area or in your school and it'd be beneficial to all of your students to have to write something on it. And you want to assign that to all of them, put that into your all students folder, and then you don't have to go through and create a folder in each and every one of these to assign to the students individually. So now you come down, we're going to create an assignment now. So now we go into, say, Chemistry 1. And we're going to create our first assignment. Now assignments are going to have 4 types or 4 parts in how we're going to create their file. The first part is going to be the date. So this date can either be the date that you start working on the project, the start date that you assign the project, or the date that the assignment is due. You just want to choose one of those 3 and keep it consistent in how you name all of your files. That way you can always remember how those files are named, how you went about it. And a lot of us are really good at remembering, I had this great idea in the middle of July, so I started working on it then. And some of us are well, I always make this project due on these dates, and I know that I started working on it then, and I did all these areas. Some of us are just really good at marking in our calendars in bright blue letters when you assign something. And it's just easy for you to remember that way. So whichever way our date is going to make it easier for you to remember. In my case, we're going to make it the due date, and this is going to be due on the 23rd of September in the year 2020. So we got that right there. Now for the class, it's going to be for Chem 1. Now it's really important here that you make sure that however you abbreviated your name for your file up here, so in this case Chemistry 1, I abbreviated into Chem 1. However you abbreviate that, you want to make it the same as you go down your folder sequence so that it's always the same as you go through. So now you have an assignment name. The most important part for assignment names is just keeping them short. You don't want to have to write out in Chemistry 1 lab on tectonic plate chemistry. You don't want to have to type that out every time you're making a new file in here. So you just want to make it a tectonic plate lab. And then you want to keep down your next area is going to be the type of assignment that you have. Now I have a couple of samples of what you might want to name your assignments. You can just name it video for something you want them to watch and respond to, paper for something, just that short little paper, or even a long-term paper. You can have your journals, you can have labs, you can have something like practice logs for some of our music teachers out there. So even in this case, we can remove that word lab on the end because we know this is our tectonic plate, and now this is going to be a lab that we're going to have them do. And we can place it just like there. Now we know when the assignment, what is due, what class it's for, what the name of that assignment is, and we can quickly tell what type of assignment it is. Now, labeling this type of assignment becomes really important as you start to do a lot of assignments for your class, especially if you're in online learning only this year, as what can start to happen is you start assigning things that you're comfortable with, and you stop doing things that interest your students more heavily. And then you start running into areas where you're not quite sure, why aren't my students engaged? What's going on? They're not, excited about my projects anymore. You can start going through and realizing that, oh no, I've done 15 labs this semester and I haven't done any videos. So maybe it's time to do a short video for them, show them how something else is working, have them write a paper on it, just to mix that up and get them going on to do something a little bit different. So now the last area we're going to go into is how this is all going to work out for what you're labeling and what you're going to call all of this. So we have great names. It's easy for us to go in and out and find all of these areas right from our classes, go into our current semester, go into the class we want, and then bam, we're right there into our assignment. But we want to understand how that's working a little bit. So when we go all the way back into our user file right here in Claytime, this is our root folder, or the root of our classes area. So this is where everything starts out, and then we can go into our classes folder, and we'll be able to see all of our semesters that we have been teaching or that we have documentation for. Then we can go into our semester. It goes down to our semester, then we go into our classes, and then into our assignments, just like we went through. And this structure here is called a file tree, because it starts off at its root, and it grows up, and it branches out like the branches on a tree. Eventually, you'll come into here, and you'll have 20 or 30 or 40 or even 100 assignments sitting inside of this folder, and those will all be the little branches that come off of your main root. So on this last page here, you have space where you can create your own file tree, and that's just going to be where you write out where you put this. Maybe if you're like some of us, you really like to have this folder on your desktop, and you can drag and put that on your desktop, or maybe you'd like it in your downloads or your documents, or maybe you are using a lot of Google Drive or OneDrive, and you can place it into all of these folders so that that root of that classes file is right where you need it to be, so it's easy for you to work on. So you're going to write that out here, you write out where that goes, then step down and down and down. That way you never forget how your files are organized. Now the last area here is something that's going to save you a lot of time. Is at the start of the semester, you're going to come right into here, and you see our 2020 fall semester. You're going to click on it, then you're going to right click, and then you are going to pin to quick access. And it's going to take this folder and it's going to put it right on this left side pane here, so that every time when you open up your files, you can go right into your current semester and start working on what class you want to put an assignment into. So with all that said, let's look at how we are going to create an assignment in general. So we're going to start by going into our chemistry class and our tectonic plates. Now, if you are using, if you are using Microsoft with PowerPoint and Microsoft Word, then you're going to be able to right click, select that new, and then you can just select a Word document or a PowerPoint or whatever type of document you want to create for your class, and you'll be able to go in there, and now you can give it the date, 09/23. This is for chemistry 1. This is the tectonic plate, and this is for the lab, and then you're going to give it one more section down here, and you're just going to say what it is. Now this is going to be lab report document. So let's say you want to create a document that they're going to report their lab on. You're going to create that document right there, double click, open it up, and now you can start creating your area where you have, you start off your lab number, so lab 001, you get into all of those, and now you can have tectonic plates, and you can have reports and chemistry. You can go all the way down, and you can export that as a PDF back into here, and it'll save for your next area. So that's how you're going to create your files for Windows 10. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if it helped you out. Like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next video.